Good morning, everyone, and welcome to News Extra. And this morning, we're going to be talking a little bit about suicide prevention. Suicide being a hot topic these days, especially with our youth. And joining me today is Shelby Benson with Phi Theta Kappa. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We have some special training that's coming up here later in the month. Explain what we have going on over there at the Harm Center coming up on April 15th.
It is called QPR training, and it stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer. It is simple tools to recognize suicide idealization and how to prevent somebody from attempting suicide.
Now explain what suicide idealization is.
So they're showing thoughts of depression or self-harm, and maybe they're not in a very good spot in their life at that point.
Thinking that they'd be better off if everybody'd be better off, and they'd be better off if they weren't around any longer, basically.
Correct.
So we have three different aspects to this training: the question, persuade, and refer. So QPR. So what about the question role? People are often afraid to interfere, if you will, and get involved with somebody else's personal experiences. But that's the first step, correct?
Correct. I think it's like questioning their intentions, what their plans are, and if they're truly in a bad spot towards deciding suicide over getting help.
Okay. And then the persuasion part of it, certainly we're talking about persuading somebody either not to take that step or to obtain some help, correct?
Correct.
Are there any specific techniques that might be taught in this class for that persuasion portion of QPR?
You know, I haven't been given a whole lot of details about the specific steps just yet. They're kind of waiting to give us those details, I suppose. We have two people who are interested in coming to Scottsbluff to speak, and I will talk to them when time gets a little bit closer. Okay,
and then, of course, the third part is referring, and naturally that would be referring to somebody who's in a position to help, perhaps a counselor or a psychologist, mental health professional that would be out there to be able to talk to somebody about their specific situation and give them some options aside from what the person may have been thinking about.
Correct. And I think it's kind of hard for some people to know where to turn to. You know, you can try to turn to a family provider, but then there's not a whole lot of other options that I think come to mind right away for people. But we do have options in this area.
Okay. And there is a specific role called a gatekeeper. And we're going to come back in just a moment and talk a little bit about that role right after this on News Extra. And we're back on News Extra, and my guest is Shelby Benson with Phi Theta Kappa. I had to make sure that I get it said correctly. And we're talking about QPR training, which stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer. A little bit earlier, we were talking about the role of a gatekeeper. Explain how that works with QPR.
I think a gatekeeper is best explained as like a first responder. So when somebody's in an accident, that first person that's there, usually a police officer, this gatekeeper is your first responder. That's the first person there that starts the life-saving process and gets the person going on the right track to getting help. Okay.
Now, with the National Honor Society, why did you decide to get involved with this? What attracted the group to sponsoring this type of an event?
One of my main goals as president of PTK was to bring more suicide awareness to the campus, to my peers, to the community. I've had in the past experiences with friends who have committed suicide, and in our community in the last several years we've had a lot of young lives lost to suicide, and I thought it was really important to try to give people those resources to help others.
Okay, and you're doing this in partnership with the Panhandle Partnership, correct?
Correct.
With this program itself, the National Honor Society, just one of the community involvement aspects for the group, correct?
Correct. We try to do community service projects each semester. The more the merrier, of course, but these are around our national conferences or our regional conferences and little things we do on campus.
Okay. So the training is coming up very shortly, coming up on the 15th of April. Give us a little bit more details on it. Is there a cost to it as well?
No, it is absolutely free to the community, and there will be cookies and refreshments. I know it's over kind of the dinner time, but hopefully those cookies and refreshments can tide people over until the end of the training.
And starting up at 5:30 in the evening at the Plex at the Harms Technical Center there at WNCC.
Correct.
And the length of the presentation actually is kind of dependent on the number of people that are going to be taking part. Generally 2 hours, however. Could be shorter or longer depending on participation, correct?
Correct. So far, we don't have that many people registered on the website, but we're hoping that as it gets closer, people will be able to register and be able to come out. The Plex can hold up to about 240 people, so we can have a bunch of people come. If not, that's okay, but we are prepared.
Is the website the only way to get registered for the program?
Correct. There is a Facebook page called Question, Persuade and Refer QPR training that people can say that they're interested in coming, and there's also a link there to register.
As well as I'm sure on the Phi Theta Kappa Facebook page, there's probably a link there as well.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And so if you are interested in taking part in this QPR training, you do have to do the registration online, but very simple to do. To look it up on Facebook, and click on the link and fill out that registration form. It is free to the public, starting up on the 15th of April from 5:30 until about 7:30, depending on the number of participants at the Harms Center at WNCC. Shelby, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.